analytics in sports, this is just across all sports. I think analytics has done good for sports. It's also ruined sports in a lot of ways too. Because these math nerds now are going in saying, oh, the mid range is a bad shot. In baseball, you need to have this much exit velo. In football, punting is bad. And it's just like, I don't know. I feel like nowadays we're not taking in the flow of games. We're just going off math.
Yeah, and like you said, it's good and bad. Like there have been situations where I'll go ahead and let's just say football, for example, because we all watch football, and I think football is the easiest to diagnose. Like with flow of game, like if you are 4th and 3 and you're in a gray area, like let's say around the 45-yard line of your other opponent, and
Yep.
you're about to go into their side of the field deeper, you know, people will be like, oh, just punt it and try to pin them. But if the flow of the game is saying that you have momentum, then go for it. Like
I'm a go for it guy unless my offense
it's
it's
just
just
not doing
it
anything.
can't move.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like again, I'm also a go for a guy as well. I mean, it really just kind of has to depend on how the team is played. Like if they have been bad on offense,
Yeah.
but even if you've been bad on offense and you're getting to a point of the game where you have to go for it because if
Yep.
you don't and you keep the punting game going on, you don't know if you're going to get back on. You just don't know. So
So so this is a little bit off topic, but it's kind of on subject. So I'll just ask you about it. I don't know if you're aware, the UFL this year created a rule in that league that basically says if you are past the 50, you cannot punt the ball.
I see. I don't watch the UFL like crazy. So I did not. I'm not really privy of all the stuff that they do. I do know that like it's basically a testing ground for the NFL.
Yep.
A lot of the stuff that the UFL is
Which is what
doing.
minor league baseball has become for Major League Baseball.
Yeah, it's basically a testing ground, which I do think is really good and unique in its own
Yeah.
way. But I did not know that. I will say this though, in terms of like if you go past the 50 and you punt the ball, um, I, I'm like very hit or miss on that because like it on one side, I think that would be great because you're getting rid of punts. On the other side, it's like if you're going for it all the time and you're just not getting it past the 50, then you already know what your outcome is going to be, and the other team's going to get the ball back most of the time.
You know what's interesting though? If it's like 4th and 8 and you're at your own 47, do you try to go for it all on third and 8, or do you try maybe a run and get to 4th and 4, knowing that if I get to the 48, I have to go for it anyway? Like that strategy too.
Yeah, and if I'm in that situation, if I know I'm going for it on 4th down, I'm going to try and get some ground. I'm going to try and get some ground and pound yards.
Yeah.
I want to try and make it easy. I don't want to just air it out unless the defense is showing something that you just can't refuse in the air. I am a I always, if I'm 3rd and long and you know you're going to go for it on 4th down in that portion of the field, I'm going to try and run the ball, whether it's with your quarterback or your running back, to try and get some yards, and then what you do on 4th down is completely up to you.
You know what's funny? And again, I know this is a little bit off topic. Sports feels like it's always reciprocal. Like it always feels like that there's this big trend that happens for 3 or 4 years, and then everybody goes back to the way it was originally. I think we'll look no further than like the running back position in football. For years it was running backs don't matter, the run game doesn't matter. We're gonna throw. And now the last couple of years, defensive coordinators have adjusted. One teams are playing a lot more two high safety. And all of a sudden, it's like maybe we do need a running back. And now, like as we get into the NFL draft, like Jeremiah Love, I feel like 5 or 6 years ago would have never been talked about a potential top 5 pick. And yet here he is. And there's some people that think, he could go as high as like number 4 to Tennessee.
Yeah, yeah. Jeremiah Love's interesting because he is definitely the ultimate bell cow. So I think that whatever team drafts him, they're going to get a very good return on investment. I do think Tennessee ultimately will be the team that picks him because their actions with how they've played free agency are speaking louder than the words. Like they went out and traded for Jermaine Johnson. They went out and asserted that defense a little more through free agency. I would be damned if they go into the year with Tony Pollard as their starting running back. I think that Tony Pollard's getting towards the end of his career in terms of playing meaningful snaps. But that's besides the point. I look at Jeremiah Love, and you could have said the same about Ashton Jennings last year. Bijan Robinson, Jahmyr Gibbs, those teams who took those running backs. I mean, I'll give Ashton Jennings benefit of the doubt because that offensive line was so bad, and they
Yep.
addressed it in Vegas this year.
Yes,
So
they did.
I think he'll have a way better
Yeah,
second.
we'll talk about Vegas in a second, obviously.
Yeah, but I will sit here and say that you look at those teams that have picked those running backs extremely high, they have always had a good return of investment. And I think that whoever picks Jeremiah Love is going to get a good return of investment. And who knows? Maybe he falls to 7 and I can start buying my Jeremiah Love gear.
So before we start talking a little bit more draft stuff, you mentioned me a little bit off the air. You said NFL free agency did not go the way you expected it to go. Can you expand on that?
So with NFL free agency, I wasn't expecting a lot of, let me put it like this. I wasn't expecting a lot of teams to do the New England Patriots method of the madness, having a lot of cap space and just going balls to the wall, trying to expand your team and trying to spend because that's what the Patriots did last year and that's how they
Yep.
got to the Super Bowl. So I look at teams like Tennessee and I look at teams like Vegas, for example. They had a lot of cap space. They spent. I
Yeah,
think the
they did.
Raiders did better than the Titans.
I agree with you.
I think that they spent on defense. They went and got Nakobe Dean. They went and got Quay Walker. And I think the Tyler Linderbaum signing,
I
asserting,
I think it's the best signing of free agency.
yeah, I'm a little salty because I wanted Washington to sign him.
Yeah.
But regardless, I think that was a hell of a move. Throw all the money at the best interior lineman on the board, and that's what Vegas did. They're getting ready to protect Fernando Mendoza.
Yep.
They're going to try and set him up as best as they possibly can. And I think that I was not expecting these teams who had a lot of cap space to really go in and try and re-overhaul the roster. More specifically, I wasn't thinking Vegas would do it, but they've been doing it. And now I think a team like Vegas can make the playoffs depending on how the rest
Yeah.
of the rest of the offseason
That
goes.
that AFC West, I mean, you look at like the NFC North last year, all four teams were over 500. The Lions finished last at 9-8. That AFC West is going to be a murderer's row of a going.
And
I mean,
we've been saying it for years though. But go on. But we've been saying that for years though. Before finally what happened
I
last.
mean, think about it. Who's the worst quarterback in that division? Bo Nix?
I think as soon as Fernando Mendoza gets drafted to the Raiders, it will be him by default. But I would sit here and say begrudgingly Bo Nix.
That's what I mean. By the end of year one, if Mendoza has like a Jaden Daniels has rookie year, or CJ Stroud has rookie year, and I love Clint Kubiak. I thought that was a great hire. I thought he was one of the main reasons why Seattle's offense was so good and why Darnold had the season he had last year. And again, they invested in the offensive line. They went out, they got pieces on defense. You got Brock Bowers, you got Ashton Genty. Besh, I think, is going to come on this year as another good receiver. They could always draft another one this year in the draft, too. I don't know. I kind of feel like I'm in the fence of like, are they a year away because their division's so hard? Like, do they need another draft or are they here now? And I think that question will be answered obviously as the season goes on.
Yeah, and I think with the AFC West in particular, I have said this off the record, and I will throw Vegas into this mix as well. I believe the AFC West started last year, but it's going to get ramped up this year. They are going to go on an NFC East like run where you are not going to see a second year winner
Oh, I like that.
after year after year. So I don't think that Denver will win it this year, even though they just got Jalen Waddle. I still don't think that moves the needle for them because
No, I don't either.
I
It's funny. Well, going into the year last year, like I was high on Vegas last year because I thought Pete Carroll was going to come in. I thought Geno Smith was going to be solid. I thought Chip Kelly for an offensive coordinator was going to fix a lot of their issues. And Vegas was my trendy team. I had Denver finishing last in the division. What do I know?
Yeah, and getting back to my original point, I just think that we're not going to see a repeat winner for a long, long time. I think that Kansas City will probably win it this year because I think they upgraded their team, and I think they're getting younger, and it's showing. And I think that number 8 overall pick is going to help them because they predominantly have good draft picks that contribute for them. So I think that Kansas City can get back to that point. But I think in the terms of the Raiders, I think the Raiders are probably a year away, which is why I think in 20, because we're going 2026,
Yep.
2027, 2028, I think the Raiders, if they play how I think they're going to play this year, grind it, physical team, making all these games hard for their opponents, I could see them getting better in another year and have them win the division.
And I would keep Crosby, by the way, at this point. I would
Yeah,
not
no,
trade
I
him.
think they should. I get the vision of why you wanted to get rid of him. You're trying to overhaul the roster. You're trying to overhaul your team. You're trying to get new life into the building. But Maxx Crosby's a top 5 passer in the league. So if they are good this year, which I think that they can be, I think they can win like 8 or 9 games, depending if Fernando
Yep.
Mendoza is the real deal. He is the cog that is going to turn that team
Yep.
into where they have to go. If he's good, I can see them winning 8 to 9 games. Keep Crosby. I know he'll get a year older, but he is literally what a Raider is. He's been one of their best players for a long time. I don't think you really have to trade him at this point.
So it's funny because, Minnesota went out and signed Kyler Murray, and everybody's banging on JJ McCarthy's, saying, oh, Minnesota wants Kyler to be the long-term answer. And I get it. But I'm sitting there going, okay, so the Vikings won 9 games last year in one of the hardest divisions in football with Max Crosby, Carson Wentz, and McCarthy, who played 8 or 9 games last year. And all of a sudden, I think because of what Sam Darnold did in Seattle, they obviously fire the GM. And I like Kevin McConnell a lot. And I'm not saying that Kyler Murray will or won't outwork there. And I'm not saying JJ McCarthy's a great quarterback either. My take is he's been hurt the first 2 years of his career, and I feel like we're giving the kid 10 starts and we're giving up on him.
I think you're I think you're spot on to a degree. I think what's really hurting him and what really hurt him was Sam Darnold being Sam Darnold the way he was.
Yep.
I think when Sam Darnold, because they did not think that Sam Darnold would play the way he played. Now Sam Darnold's Super Bowl winner for Seattle, and that's probably why Quessie's out the door. But I will say that even though with the Minnesota Vikings in particular, that JJ McCarthy's been hurt and then he's been inconsistent in his play, it it's a hard boat to be in when the guy that you let walk out the door is doing so well in another situation, and then they end up winning the Super Bowl. And now JJ McCarthy, even though he keeps getting hurt in some of these games, I'll even throw Washington in there because I watched that game start to finish. He lit our ass up,
Yeah.
but our defense is one of the worst I've ever seen. So like he lit us up big time, and yet like they still don't believe in him. And I think a lot of that is just falls on the fact that Brian Flores is a really good defensive coordinator and that defense kept them in a lot of games last year and that they won them games. But you also have players like Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison on your offense, and Justin Jefferson's a top 5 wide receiver in the league, and all you got to do is just throw the ball in his vicinity and he'll catch it. Even though he
So
didn't have a good year last year, the point remains the same. The Minnesota Vikings, if Kyler Murray can be a part of the next quarterback rehab and thrive, yeah, I think Minnesota, people should start looking at them to win the division. I'm
I
not
mean,
even.
here, that's an interesting question. Who's the worst team in that division? Is it Green Bay?
Ah, I because I don't think that Detroit will have as bad of a year as they did last year. I
I
thought that.
don't. I love the Drew Pensing hire as OC. I thought him and McDaniel were the two best hires of the whole offseason.
Yeah, I think that,
OCs.
and with the Lions in particular, I think that obviously when you lose Ben Johnson, it hurts, and like we saw it last year, it hurt them, but they were also hurt as well, and they've been hurt the past couple of years. And if they can just get healthy, I think the Lions could get back to the playoffs and do what they have done the past couple of years. So I think that the Lions they should be back. I don't know if they'll win the division. I think right now I'd say they would. I think Green Bay, yeah, I'd probably lean that they're either them or Minnesota are the two worst teams in the division. I do believe there is a world though, and maybe this is just me. Maybe it's just because I drink the Kool-Aid too much. I do think that Chicago will regress, and I think, it's going to be the same with me in Denver as well. They won a lot of one possession games last year,
They did.
and I think that that's not going to happen this year. I think for both of those teams, it's not going to happen. I'm not going to sit here and say that
They
they're bad.
did. No,
But I
they
think that
did.
they won a lot of one possession games. And I know a team in 2024 that did that and wasn't good this year. So I think
Yeah, no,
that,
you're right.
and I think that it could catch up to them. I don't think that, and obviously roster construction, they're a lot younger. But I do think that those two teams are going to step back and regress. So I think a lot of those one possession games are going to go away. And I think a lot of that is going to fall on the fact that luck just doesn't happen all the time. And I truly do think that for the NFC North, if I were to choose my team right now, it's probably Detroit to be safe. But I could see if Kyler Murray, and I know I've said it like 5 times already, if Kyler Murray does quarterback rehab and he looks really, really good, I think Minnesota could be up there and win that division because that defense is not going to regress. I think the defense is going to be good.
So I've been having this argument with a few people lately, which, and I know Tom Brady has come out and said he believes that, quarterback play has gotten worse in the NFL. Quarterback play is bad. My belief is the top has actually never been better. And the problem is we have guys like, Tua, for example, JJ McCarthy, um, and then some of these younger guys, like a Tyler Shuff in New England, a Jackson Dart, I'll even throw Shador in there with the Browns. There are guys who I think either A, have a lot of potential and we see it that are not there yet, or B, maybe just need the right system, but they're not bad quarterbacks. So I actually think we have a lot of questions of average quarterbacks of are they great? And I think you look around the league, like Cam Ward's another great one. Like, I don't want to give him on Cam Ward yet. We don't know. I want to see him with a competent offensive coordinator with Dable. I think there's only a handful of teams. The Jets, obviously, Pittsburgh, obviously, at some point, depending on what Aaron Rodgers does. Arizona eventually. But I think there's only a handful of teams that you can definitively say right now don't have a for sure franchise quarterback because there's a lot of I don't know yet.
Yeah, and I think like you were kind of alluding to, I think a lot of the reasons that Tom Brady might be saying that now is because you're looking, and I'll throw the 2024 draft class in there as an example. 2024 quarterback draft class has been amazing. Four of those six quarterbacks that went in the first round look like they're going to be perennial franchise
Yep,
players. And I think that that may have fast tracked a lot of the NFL's thinking. Caleb Williams is going to be a Bear for life. Jaden Daniels, I will be reluctant to say, will be a Commander for
yep,
life. I will say Drake May will be a Patriot for life. I will say that Bo Nix will be a Bronco for life.
yep. I agree.
So you have those type of guys fast tracking thinking now in the NFL.
And if we think Mendoza is as good as he is, we may walk it in by this time next year and say he's going to be a Raider.
Yeah, and I think I'm already going to lock it in because I loved what Mendoza did in
Yes,
college.
I agree
But
with you.
I'm going to lock it in, and I'll press my Charles Barkley guarantee button right now that he'll be a Raider for life. For me, you are seeing players get drafted into good situations, or they just have it, and now you're trying to rethink what other quarterback situations are. I'll throw Cam Ward in there for an example. I love how Cam Ward ended the year.
Yep.
That was enough for me to think, okay, he's got potential and has shown flashes. And I think that, as we all know, Brian Dable is a better offensive coordinator than he is head coach.
Yeah.
I think that Tennessee will be better this year. Hell, I think Tennessee could win that division because
That did the
I think
AFC
the AFC
South all of a
South
sudden
could
has gotten
kill.
really good. I mean, I love what Liam Cohen has done in Jacksonville. Houston is still obviously there. We'll see what's going on with Indianapolis. I don't know about Daniel Jones' help, but when he was in there last year, the Colts are one of the best teams in football. So that AFC South all of a sudden has gotten really competitive really quick too.
Yeah, and for me, I love what Jacksonville's done, but like with Jacksonville, can they do it again? Like, can they do that again? And like, can we see them like be consistently good and like win another division title?
Yeah.
I just don't know if they can do it. I personally don't know if they
And
can.
we've never
And they've
seen it in
lost
our
some players in
lifetime.
free
So
agency too. So I don't know. I look at a team like Tennessee. I don't know about Houston. I think Houston's going to regress. That's just me. They have an amazing defense, but the only way they're going to get better is if I think they move off CJ Stroud because I don't think CJ Stroud is the guy anymore.
that's an interesting take. Do you think
I
it's
don't think he's the
do you
guy.
think it's more the offensive line issue though? Because he has not gotten protected at all.
Yeah, I'll defend Stroud on that part because they have shifted the offensive line a lot, and it has not been fair to him that they've done that. I don't know what Nick Casario is doing down there in terms of trying to build that offensive line. But what I can tell you is it only gets to a point, like it did
Yeah.
in the playoffs. In the Patriots game, for example, when they were playing there, it got to a point where it's not the offensive line anymore.
I mean,
It's, hey,
Houston
they're
would have won
turning the
that
ball over
game.
religiously now.
I swear, if they would have just ran the ball 3 times and punted instead of 5 turnovers, I think they win that game.
Yeah, their defense is. I was saying that they have a Hall of Fame level defense. That
Yep.
defense in Houston was amazing. But if you don't have a good quarterback in the other end, if you don't have a competent quarterback, you're not going to win games. He didn't play good in like Stroud did not play good in Pittsburgh, and he did not play good in New England.
No, I agree
And
with
they
you.
and they somehow their defense won them the game in
Yep.
Pittsburgh. So again, maybe it's just me. Maybe I'm just hating on CJ Stroud. He's going to have to really show me this year that he's the quarterback that we all thought he would be in his rookie year because to me, I think we have gotten to a point, Brandon, where I think CJ Stroud should not be extended and they should look somewhere else.
So when you get this draft, I sort of had a theory this year, right? Because it's not a big quarterback class. Obviously, we know Mendoza is going to go one. There's talks about Ty Simpson, whether he's going to be a first rounder or not. So we know NFL teams are desperate. Some team will probably get back up in the first round to go get him, I would guess. But my theory is this is a very line heavy draft. Offensive line, defensive line. There's a few receivers, but always for the top of the town, it's a very line heavy. A lot of these players are rated very similar. So my theory is, I think we're gonna have one of the least trade movements in the draft that we've had in a long time. I think most of these teams are just going to stay put and take the best player available to fill positional needs. Am I wrong on that, you think?
I don't think you're wrong because I look at the heavy defensive line that is at the top of the draft. I think a lot of people are salivating for those players. Like I could tell you right now, the Jets are not trading out of two. They
Yep.
traded Jermaine Johnson, like I've already said earlier in the podcast. They will be taking an edge rusher too, whether that's Arvell Reese or David Bailey, which I think they're going to land on David Bailey. They're going to get one of the premier edge rushers to try and restart that defense and do it the right way. So I think that there will be an edge rusher picked at two. I also do believe that there could be an edge rusher picked at three. I think that there could be an edge rusher possibly picked at 4 or 5. I think that you have so many good defensive players at the top of this draft class that unless you get the Godfather offer in your world, I don't think teams are going to want to move up.
And,
So
and I don't think it's going to be a dogfight to get a certain player because I think most of these players are graded probably pretty similarly.
yeah, it's kind of just however you feel as an organization. Like
Yep.
if you feel that Arvell Reese is better than a Ruben Bain, then you can take Arvell Reese. And I don't think a lot of people, and maybe another team might want Ruben Bain over Arvell Reese.
Yep.
So there's a lot of ways the defensive portion can go at the top of the draft in terms of D line. Some people might think players are better than others. It's really eye of the beholder. And I think that in terms of that perspective, there might not be a lot of trade movement. I don't think there will be a lot of trade movement unless someone, for some reason, really wants Jeremiyah Love. And I think the Browns could easily entertain a trade back because they're going to try and go offensive line. I think that offensive line, you might have Mawanoa gone at 3. You might have Monroe Freeling gone at 3 or 4 or 5, wherever they're viewing it. There's a lot of okay offensive line talent in this draft where if someone really wanted like a Jeremiyah Love because they have no running
Yeah.
back on their team, they could entertain a trade back.
Listen, if I'm the Browns, I'm not trading back. I'm taking Cardinal Tate at 6. They have to solve their wide receiver issue.
In a wide receiver deep draft class, the way this is, I don't think they necessarily have to take a wide receiver at 6. I think if they wanted to continue the trend of let's fortify the front, then you do. And I wouldn't hate that if the Browns did that either. I wouldn't hate if they took a lineman because your line was so bad last year, and you
We all
already
know
have to
that. Yep.
overhaul. You already have to overhaul the line. That yeah, if you have to spend a pick on a line like an offensive lineman like a Monroe Freeland or a Francis Mourinho or a Stefan Fano. If you got to do that, then do it. I don't think you're going to get a lot of pushback in Cleveland if you're trying to fortify your front and hope that Shador Sanders just doesn't turn the ball over. So that's kind of how
I
I look
agree with
at
that,
it.
but also outside of Harold Fannin, who the hell is he going to throw the ball to? Because I don't trust Jerry Judy at all.
Yeah, like I know Jerry Judy's
I
going to be
I would try to
wide
trade
one.
Judy personally.
Yeah, but who would want him? I don't think anyone would want him at that contract.
I mean,
That's their problem, not
would
mine.
would
So like,
would Miami, because they're so desperate they traded away both Waddle and Tyreek, or cut Tyreek, would they entertain it if they can't get a receiver at 11?
I don't think so. I think Miami's already went down the path of okay, we are going to just build this from the ground up, and they should.
Yeah.
And I think that they've done everything the right way.
They're
Maybe Jeff Hafley's not the guy for them in a couple years,
they're
but
the one team, because I don't know if you know this. I found this out the other day. They have four picks in the third round. I
I did
don't
not know that. That's actually pretty rich for the
I
fourth
don't think
round.
they're going to make all those picks. So I think they may be the one team that moves up. There's a lot of talk about them maybe going after Ty Simpson.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if I and I know Dan Orlovsky's been pushing the pedal on Ty Simpson, and like I get why. Maybe your agent's saying something to him, but like again, I just don't know if this is the class to pick a quarterback. I think Miami should just tank this year and hope
Yes. And by
and
the
hope
way,
that Julian Dane's up there next year at the top of the line.
and I think
My
that's what
bad.
the Jets are doing. Like, I don't even think the Jets are going to take it. They may take a flyer on one in the sixth round, but I don't think they're even thinking about quarterback. They're just going to build their roster and lose as many games they possibly can. And you know, and the Browns are obviously tricky because you have Shador and you want to see what you got in him, but then there's all the Watson rumors, which are driving me nuts.
Yeah, I think that Watson's gonna at some point this season. If it's not the beginning of the year, I think Watson at some point this season is gonna start.
See, I think he's going to start week one. All the insiders are saying he's got the inside track, and I'm thinking, what is that going to do to Shador's development?
In that quarterback room specifically, it's already so bad. And like you're already paying the money for Deshaun. At least with a new coach, can we see what he looks like? Because if he doesn't look good, then okay, you could close the book on that. It will be easy to move off him in the following year.
See,
But
my theory is,
if he does look good, then you could either entertain a trade or you could at that point, try and do something with him.
my theory is Todd Monken is going to be the Browns version of what David Culley was in Houston. Like, I, I, I think
that's
he,
that's brutal, dude.
I think he's here for 1 year. I think he's a scapegoat. I think they're
Yeah.
flat out tanking for Arch Manning. I'll be honest with you. That's the vibe I get when you hire Todd Monken at 60 years old, who's never once been entertained for a head coaching job.
Yeah, you might not be wrong. I would have probably kind of said that, oh, I think Monken will not be the coach by Brook Park. I would have entertained that.
Yeah,
But 1 year like David Culley, that's crazy. I
that
think that
that's my theory. I think that because I think they kind of wanted what's the guy's name? Yudinski in Jacksonville. That didn't happen. He turned him down. Then I think that
they wanted
they
Shieldhouse, and then he
they
turned them
wanted
down.
Shieldhouse, and then and then it's like they called Joe Brady, and Joe Brady was like, I'm taking the Josh Allen job. F you. And so I think they're like, well, hire this guy. I mean, he was in our division. Like we're not trying to win really anyway. So
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I'll give Monken the benefit of the doubt unless he's just an egregiously horrible head coach. Like it's really hard to be a bad head coach your first year in, and if he's that, then yeah, maybe they do fire him. But I just don't see them moving off Monken this quick. I don't see that. I don't get that vibe. Maybe if they're still bad by the time Brook Park is open, then they'll try and just get a new coach then. But I don't see them moving off Monken after 1 year. I just maybe after two, but I don't see it after one.
it wouldn't be a Brandon's World Podcast with Austin Arnold if we didn't talk about the Washington Commanders. I think obviously last year you guys had the injury year from hell, and it happens. You guys could pull a San Francisco 49ers and get right back up there in championship contending status this year. I wouldn't be surprised by it. I would imagine the focus in the draft is going to be more defensive. Maybe you take an offensive lineman as well at some point to help protect Jaden Daniels. Um, but this NFC East now all of a sudden, I mean, you got four good quarterbacks in that division. You could make a case three or four good coach. I mean, our division is going to be, in my opinion, I think it's going to be one of the toughest years to predict. I mean, the Giants and the Cowboys are not bottom feeders anymore.
They're not. And I think that with kind of how we were up on this stand last year, we thought that they'd both be bottom feeders. And the offense for Dallas looked amazing, and Giants showed potential. I think John Harbaugh, and I will reluctantly say this, and maybe you feel differently. I think John Harbaugh is overrated, but I do think he's a very good upgrade for the Giants.
That's
But
exactly how I feel. I
like,
don't think
I
he's the.
think that for the
It's
Giants,
exactly how I feel.
you need a guy like John Harbaugh
It's
who has
exactly how I feel. Yep.
everything in Baltimore. I think he's a little past I think he's a little past the post at this point. I don't listen, I think the Giants can be good, but I just don't I
I'll,
don't know.
I'll put it to you this way.
No.
I know he has the Super Bowl. I always felt like Jim, though, was the better coach out of the Harbaughs.
Yeah. You're probably right, even though John stayed longer in Baltimore and Baltimore kept getting to the playoffs. A lot of that's due to the organization there. But I'll kind of piggyback to back where the division is. I think the Giants can be decent this year. I want to see what they do at 5. They've really upgraded the defense a little more. Joe Shane's done a phenomenal job trying to mask that the issue was Dable and it wasn't him.
I would go offensive line if I was them.
See, I think that they probably will go offensive line or defense. I have heard a lot of Sonny Styles to New York. That would
Hmm.
scare the hell out of me.
Yeah.
I don't want that to happen, but I do think that there's someone's going to be picked at 5, and I'm not going to be happy about who it is because they're going to have to be in my division, and I have to see them 2 times a year.
Yep.
So whether that's Caleb Downs or Sonny Styles or Arvell Reese or just anyone that I think is good that I would want on my team, they're probably going to go at 5, and I'll be a little sick to my stomach about that.
I would say this though. I mean, I kind of thought the same way about Abdul Carter last year. And maybe he develops this year, but he wasn't the all-pro defensive lineman that they thought he was going to be, though, coming out of Penn State.
Yeah, and I think part of that was just, kind of the system in place last year. And like you said, maybe I think he develops this year and they go from there with the Giants. I do think the Giants are on an upward trajectory. I would be terrified if Jeremiah Love went to 5. I don't think they'll do that because Scadaboo's a good running back. But if
Yeah,
Jeremiah Love
I don't.
went to
I
5,
don't.
I'd be
Everybody says
super
that
love.
they're in line to take Jeremiah Love. I don't understand that because I understand Scadaboo's a fourth round pick, but he's cheap as a fourth round pick, and you have your running back for the next 3 years, and they have
He was
Tracy, I
good.
believe,
He was
too.
good before he got hurt, which
Yes,
is why I'm thinking to myself, why are you going to give up on him?
I I
That makes no
don't
sense to
I
me.
don't under like unless you're trading Cam Scadaboo, I don't understand the pick of Jeremiah Love at
Yeah.
all.
I, I think Scat and I know he had a bad injury, but he's on track to play week 1. He was
The
pretty
dude
good
just said
this year.
CTE isn't real; it's a myth. I mean, I love to have that guy on my team.
Yeah, just I don't think that they should pick Jeremiah Love given that Scattaboo. It's one thing if he's bad and he wasn't good. It's
Yes.
another if he was good, showed flashes last year, and was actually doing really good for them. So I think that they shouldn't even pick Jeremiah Love at 5. I think personally they're going to go defense and they're probably going to get like a Sonny Styles. I think it's set in the stars. I think Sonny Styles at 5 is probably where I'm leaning for them, but I could be wrong. I don't know. I know they just signed Tremaine Edmonds, but I think that they need a younger guy to control the
Yeah.
defense. I think that's where they're going to go at 5. If I'm going to just segue to my team because I at
Go
least got
ahead.
to talk about my team a little bit
Yeah, go
here.
ahead.
Um, I think that if Washington, I think the only way that they don't pick defense is if Jeremiah Love falls to 7. If he falls to 7, you take him. I would love that. Listen, I think the running back room right now is okay. Jeremiah Love is an immediate threat.
Yeah.
He is better than Bill Crosby Merritt. He's better than Rashad White. He's better than Jerome Ford. He's better than Jeremy McNichols. You have him and Jaden Daniels in the same backfield. I'm probably gonna be back on your podcast next year, depending on how it goes. And I'm gonna say this team's gonna go to Super Bowl. Like I
Yeah.
just I'm gonna be on like because I do think with what Washington's done this offseason, they got younger. I love Chigakonkwo. I salivated for Chigakonkwo.
Yeah.
I love the signing. I think that they're probably gonna pick a wide receiver if at 7 if Jeremiah Love's not there. I can see Carnell Tate being the guy if
Oh,
the
I'd
Browns don't
hate
pick
that.
him.
Oh, I hate that.
I know you don't like it, but
I
like
hate that.
something has to give, and they need another wide receiver. And
They
we don't
do.
know what the Brandon Ayuk situation. We just don't know, so they're gonna have to think about that. If they don't go wide receiver, if they don't go Jeremiah Love, I would love a Caleb Downs. I would love a Sonny Styles. I would love someone on the defense to try and improve the defense a little more. Regardless, I've liked that they've gotten younger, and I think that it's going to be a better year for them. And depending on how this draft goes, and they still got a lot of money to spend too depending on how this draft goes, I do think Washington could fight for the division. And I know that's just me being a homer, and I know that a lot of
No,
people have
it's true.
out. I
No,
think that
it's true.
definitely come back, just like San Fran did after that 6-10 year,
Yep.
and just really kick it to their opponents.
Like that clip from the Brand's World podcast? If so, make sure you go down there and hit that subscribe button. While you're down there hitting the subscribe button, make sure to also hit the notification bell so you never miss another upload. And make sure you check out all the other clips from the Brand's World podcast right here on YouTube.